house alive. Gonna set the whole goddamn place on fire.
All right. Welcome to Tuesday night, everyone. We got a very special guest tonight, a cannabis breeder, pollen chucker, so to speak. So we get to do breeder talk, where I get to ask all these really dumb questions and get to learn what I am doing wrong when I'm doing my shit. So Ozark Nation, how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining us.
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
So good, man. It's not Monday anymore, so that right away lifts my spirits.
We're hump day eve here.
Yeah.
I'm sucking for a hump day. But what are you smoking on tonight? That's like the
I have a blunt right now of some Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant and I-95 F3 mixed together, and then I have another blunt of some animal cookies for later.
Okay, no fucking around, eh?
Yeah.
So you're a blunt guy, I take it then?
I am. You know, it's kind of my guilty pleasure. I like to get either grow my own tobacco, or I'll order some like quarter pounds of full leaves from a couple companies online and process the leaves myself and roll them up.
Damn, that's like straight up gangster stuff right there, dude. That's badass. I like that. Do you when you're growing your own tobacco and also when you're ordering it, do you go for flavored tobaccos? Is there anything at all that, or are you just straight up plain Jane?
I mean, it helps to kind of try them all. You know, if you can find some place where you can sample some different leaves and try them, and then kind of figure out what you like, what has the right nicotine level for you, or what spins you out, what you don't like, and then kind of take it from there. I like a lot of like the shade grown stuff. It's you get a thinner leaf. It's a little smoother. It's a little tougher to handle sometimes, but it's nice.
Okay.
I gotta imagine like searching out tobacco leaves has got to be a pretty interesting. Like there's got to be the same way with cannabis, just like variety upon variety to try, and so.
Yeah. And then you'll find people. It's just like in cannabis. You'll find the mids worlds of it, and you'll order a quarter pound of leaves, and it comes all moldy and a bunch of holes in it. And you're like, this is supposed to be wrapper grade, no holes. But it's just how it goes sometimes.
It's pretty awesome. I think we had Ye Motherfucking Haw here in chat. He had done the growing of his own tobacco. I always wanted to. I never got into it. I always thought about it and just never could commit the extra time to another damn plant, But I think it's cool as shit, because I always wanted to do like a cigar grade one. I thought that would be cool to make my own cigar from start to finish. I thought that would be neat.
I mean, the hardest part for tobacco is just starting the seeds. They're real tiny, and you got to leave them on top of the soil so they have light to germinate. So that, you want to kind of keep them in a spot where they don't get blown around. But once you have a healthy plant, they're real easy. I mean, you could grow a plant indoors as long as you have some good sun, and it'll finish out really easily for you, especially just to get some flowers with seeds and stuff.
I had a couple years ago from when I ordered seeds from Daga.love over the Future Cannabis Project. They sent some, what was it, shaman tobacco. I don't know if that's different style leaf or something, but that's wasn't something that I was all that I was going to be planning on growing. So I tried to find someone to pass that on to.
Yeah, I was giving out some Virginia Gold that was actually from a friend's family. They're like their own heirloom line. They've ran it for over 100 years on the East Coast. But I kind of stopped giving out some seed. I got a little low on it, so I need to re-up on my tobacco seed of that one.
I think I might have gotten some of those from you at one point.
Oh, I'm sure.
One of my first orders, I think I got some of those.
I was never really able to handle the mixture of tobacco with my cannabis, whether it was with people mixing the tobacco with their weed and rolling joints or whatever, or doing the blunts with actual tobacco and stuff like that. It's always left that kind of like that a wheezy, ticklish feeling in my lungs or whatever, almost like smoking distillate pens. So I was never really to get fully into that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
but I love this. I've always loved the smell of cigars, and back when I used to smoke cigarettes and stuff like that, I always loved a good cigar too.
Yeah, and they're beautiful plants. I mean, especially when you grow them outdoors in the ground, they'll get real big. 6 foot, 7 foot tall. It's real nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful leaf. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So
super sticky. You'll see every bug you have in the field.
Oh yeah, all nice and dead usually to it too.
Oh yeah.
So on this, let's talk a little bit about your start with cannabis. Let's start from the start, right? So how did you get into it? Just in general, what was your first experience with it?
I mean, I grew up. I first started hitting my brother's pipe when he would leave it home. Probably just smoking resin and getting like weird little buzzes and stuff like that. And then the first time I ever got real high, we were coming home skateboarding from school in junior high, and we went into this cow field and went out by a pond and smoked a couple joints. And I went home and was high as fuck. And my mom's boyfriend at the time took us to this big dinosaur exhibit with like 3D, where you feel like you're moving, when you sit down and watch the videos and stuff like that. And it was an experience.
That's awesome.
And that was your first time being high?
Yeah, that was my first
That's
time
amazing.
like being noticeably high, where I was like, yeah, I'm fucked up.
Other than the resin hits, huh?
Yeah, that was just kind of like, a little fuzzy.
Feel a little tingly.
Here.
Just feel a little tingly. You're like,
Like your first time smoking, you don't know how to inhale. Like you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right?
Right. Well, I was a hooligan. I grew up smoking, like I sneaked cigarettes, smoking Marlboro Reds at the age of 10. So
Yeah, I was a badass little kid too, sneaking into the forest with my buddies with parents' cigarettes and shit,
Yeah.
I remember stealing cigarette packs off my parents, and then my brother getting his ass whooped for it because they thought it was him because he was like 5 or 6 years older than me. Sorry, bro.
I remember back then you could just walk into any, grocery store or gas station. The cigarettes were just there. Yeah.
bro, and like all you had to do is say, "My mom told me, I'm buying these for my mom," and they would fucking sell them to you.
Right.
Well, if you're lucky, you had one of those push panel fucking smoke machines in your town somewhere.
Oh, the ones that you had the little pull, put
Clunk,
your
clunk.
dollars of quarters in and pull the lever.
You know it.
Yeah.
Oh
See,
yeah.
up here in Canada, they were a little less trusting. I guess they at least had to make us bring a note before they would sell cigarettes to a 5-year-old, saying it's okay to sell them to my kid.
So for cannabis, what do you like breeding towards? What are you using it in a fully medicinal way, or you just kind of you're just smoking it? And I mean, we're all kind of using it medicinally, but is there a focused like medicinal aspect that you kind of are medicating for, or is it just a general all around?
I mean, for my personal taste, I kind of really like that go fast, kind of heavier stuff, maybe like white rhino, some stuff like that, the chems. But a lot of that has to do, I think, with like ADHD kind of stuff like that. Like a lot of that heavier stuff kind of settles me down, where I can just be in the groove and go. Whereas some other people, it might put them down. But so I like to work a lot of that stuff like that, and then some of the older stuff too, like Golden Goat, Urkel, Bubba, all those old classics and stuff like that. Really just like working those into some of the newer stuff, as well as like some of those older lines that are in seed form. Um, I like doing a lot of work with the Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant. It's a pretty nice hash plant. It's good flower that you can smoke, and it hashes really well. It's a little dense if you're in a really humid area, but I like doing a lot of work with that, out crosses and then back crosses, and then finding some really good lines from that I can use to work into some of those older lines to kind of make them maybe hash viable. So they either hash out for dry sift or work into washing for rosin and stuff like that.
That's cool. That's one of the things that when I was looking at the things that you were breeding, that was appealing to me were a lot of your clones that were from the early 2000s that were the elite cuts for at that time period, because that was the time period where I was starting to grow, and those were the things that I was always going, yeah, if I could get my hands on those, that would be something I'd want. And so to see those type of things getting mixed with some of the stuff that's newer and has interesting flavors, that's one of the things that I've thought was kind of appealing to your breeding projects.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, and some of those moms, they're kind of on their last leg as far as being able to find them. People just kind of let those things go when they give them up for more market viable strains, and next thing you know, someone else lost it to viruses or to bugs, and before you know it, nobody has it. So I really like to kind of hold on to all of them as much as I can. It's kind of like a Pokemon collection,
right?
Is there at any point in time where you're just going to be like, fuck it, it's too many? Like, are you one of those guys where you have a certain amount of space that you can use, so you get forced to make those cuts? Or you just like, I will make room. You are worth keeping. You stay. I'll figure it out.
I mean, I got a little space for more, but I'm kind of at a point now where I have most of what I want, so I can be pretty picky and choosy about if I was to get something else or anything like that. And now I'm pretty much, I'm filling up more of that space with keepers of my own stuff.
We were kind of talking about that pre-show. I really like the idea of that. I think it sounds like you're at the place where a lot of us would like to be, and we're all kind of trying to get to that point where we have a few keepers in our stable for different medicinal reasons. Oh, my back hurts, so I want to smoke this. I need some energy, so I'm going to smoke this. And I think a lot of us have like one, maybe two keepers that we want to keep around, but it sounds like you've been working at it a lot longer than I have as well. So fair enough.
Yeah. My only problem is I end up making too much seed and stuff like that, and then I don't make any flowers, so I don't even have anything to smoke anyways. It's like,
I kind of pulled that one on my last breeding round, threw it all around, and I was like, I'll just do it lightly so that I've got something to smoke. And then I stuck the male right in front of my fan and just across my whole room. So there was nothing lightly that happened, and there was smoking it the whole time is like you're just like fucking seed holes and husk. It's oh man, it's bitter and gross, but you're like, I got seed now.
Yeah, and there's a few good ones that'll always produce some good flower still. Like some Kush mints, you'll always get some good flower. But yeah, it can be a pain.
Definitely.
So how long have you been growing for now?
Since about 1999, so 24 years about, minus a little stint that I did in for growing. So
Yeah.
Well, that has a tendency to put the brakes on it.
yeah, the one bright side is I got a lot of outside time, and I worked on a federal waterfowl reservation. So there was a bunch of feral hemp growing. So I kind of got to still cultivate hemp and mess with hemp the whole time still. So kind of was a little, bittersweet.
Do you remember like your first cross that you ever made? And was it actually like a good one? My personal first one was not. It was a good idea in theory, but there's nothing around left of it to this day.
Yeah. The very first cross that I ever did was was when I did the chocolate tie preservation, and I did 2 outcrosses. I crossed it to the 78 LAOG Affy that came out like orange fried chicken terpenes, and it was really calming effects. But and then I hit it to I can't remember. It was a small cherry plant, and I didn't even keep any of the seeds of it because I ended up breaking the branch and stuff. And then, yeah, I shut down. That was when I was leaving Kansas City.
So what got you into the breeding aspect of this part of it?
Really just not seeing really what I wanted to see things cross with and stuff like that, and just kind of always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed working with plants and dogs, raising dogs and stuff like that. So I'm always in lizards. I've always been into husbandry and stuff like that. So it was always going to be a natural progression of things. But really just, like I said, wanted to create things that I was wanting to see that weren't out there, and rather than tell people, hey, you should do this and you should do that, I just started, I'll do it. And then I really kept a lot of it pretty tight and close. And then a couple injuries took me out of work and stuff and being able to make money. So I started opening up the seed vault and stuff like that and selling some seed, and then kind of just kept it going.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man. The plant shall provide, right?
Yeah. She'll make you prove yourself, though.
It's awesome. So now with everything that you've done, what's the one that you're like, say to this day right now, the one that you're most proud of?
I mean, ultimately, I'd probably say the chocolate tie seed line. It's just a really, really amazing chocolate tie line. I don't know much about it. I got it from an old collector, and I asked him about it, and he goes, his exact words were, "Shit, boy, it's chocolate tie. What more do you need to know?" I was just an old kid from northern Missouri, Kansas, so I just, okay.
You gotta love them fucking old school heads, right? They didn't give a shit. They told you what they got. That's all they know. That's what they know, and that's all it needed to be.
Yeah, one more question, you gotta piss them off.
Right. Yeah, we got a Hawaiian that was that way. Came from, been in the circle for a long time, tried to get some lineage on it. Motherfucker said, I brought it from Hawaii. That's why it's fucking Hawaiian. Leave me alone. Gotcha.
I have a little question. I was actually curious if you had anything else, or if you have found, if you've bred anything else, or if you have found another strain that you find works well for your ADHD. Because I know you touched on that a little bit on one of your posts about your Urkel cross with the red lime OG.
Yeah, I actually haven't smoked much of that Urkel cross, but that fella, he doesn't do a lot of like heavier smoke and stuff like that. So that's where sometimes my preferences don't really mesh with everybody else, because sometimes he'll ask me stuff and I smoke a lot of heavier stuff. But like I call it the tricolor Kush. It's Mean Gene Sky Color Double Kush. I crossed that to a TK Triangle Kush, and I called it tricolor Kush. And then that's a really nice one. Any of that kind of cushy stuff, like Kush mints, any outcrosses with that kind of set me in a groove where some people complain about it being too heavy. Bubba, stuff like that.
Okay. I find myself is pretty much the exact same. Yeah, some zombie pink here. I love it. I could smoke it anytime. It's too heavy for someone like himself.
As that seems to be a fairly common theme. I myself also ADHD like a motherfucker, and I'm always kind of laughing like you can't find something that puts me down. That's not a thing. You need to find something that puts me normal pace with everybody else. But that's such a benefit. I'm super glad to hear that. I'm glad you touched on it too, because I was going to. Because this plant, this medicine has worked wonders for my ADHD. Learning about it, getting it, dealing with it, and shit like that. So to find somebody else kind of breeding who's been breeding. We all kind of realize that, as breeders, they breed what works for them. Unintentionally, it's just kind of what keeps happening, right? If he's a real breeder who's working a line, such as yourself, things like that, right? You're not just, as Caribou said earlier, an F1 superstar trying to get the next big thing out every run. So to find some, I'm definitely going to have to hit you up and start, working with some of yours too, because I'd like to get some of that fucking calm, you know what I mean? Especially from somebody who's been working it longer than I have. I'm starting to work myself in that same direction. So that's awesome, man.
That's part of why I like that Nepalese hash plant a lot. It's like 28% THC and then 5% CBG. But it's got a real nice effect, and it's real upper creative. You can talk a lot. You can do a lot of stuff with it. I'll mix it with the most heavy stuff, and it'll keep you, functional and productive. So it's pretty nice to mix in with things and stuff like that. So that's why it's in a lot of my work. I've done a couple different back crosses to it already, and working those further also.
Yeah, you're touching on all the right words too, man. CBG seems to be a big one that's been coming up a lot lately and doing a lot of help for a lot of people that have seen. So to hear, testing out high CBG, something that I've been wanting to work into some of my stuff also is some CBG, because we've found so many benefits to multiple people in my household with the CBG. So.
Yeah. And I have to learn a lot when it comes to all that different stuff too, myself, because I've been black market my whole life. So, we never relied on lab reports and stuff like that. It's just anecdotal, word of mouth. And
I think too much emphasis gets put on lab reports and stuff like that, primarily the THC reading. That's the first thing you ask Mrs. G-Bay there. That's the first thing people ask, right, generally, right? What THC percentage? It's like, who cares? Like, we need to go back to like the high school days when we didn't have access to all this. It was just like, yeah, that would work. But now you got a more open mind, because we're more open-minded, because now we do think of medicinal terms where it's like, well, you got a bad shoulder muscle strain or whatever, and you smoke a strain that kind of dulls that pain or whatever, and you realize you can kind of tailor.
Well,
I like the lab reports too, for like, if you already know what works for you and stuff, and then it's kind of nice to be able to look at that and see, okay, well, this is what I can start looking for or something.
Well, absolutely. There are places there. I'm not trying to say they're not. It's just, I think.
Yeah, the sales aspect.
Yeah, thank you. Because there's certain stuff, like especially CBD, trying to work with that, or CBG. When you grow out CBD flower, it looks just as crystally and amazing as something THC. And it's like, well, how do you tell the difference? And so, yeah, they're obviously labs would be where you'd want to look into that kind of thing. Yeah. Good stuff. You mentioned Golden Goat earlier. That one's a personal favorite of mine. What have you ran with or crossed up with that one? Because now my interest has been piqued.
Well, I'm doing my first cross with it. When I lived in Kansas, we were like maybe 15, 20 minutes away from Lawrence, where they made Golden Goat. And so we could get it all the time. So it's one that I always like to smoke. And so right now I scored some Federation Hawaiian sativa seeds from a buddy to do a big increase for him. And then doing some cool outcrosses with it. So I hit like the Golden Goat, because Golden Goat is Island Sweet Skunk crossed to Hawaiian Romulan. So like obviously hitting that with the Hawaiian, and then obviously I hit the Romulan to remake a Hawaiian Romulan.
Yeah.
And then we have the Luteum. I don't know if you ever heard of that Luteum Q36. It's a Bubba Hawaiian cross, but it's notorious for not taking pollen. It's like, you know, a whole plant, you're going to get like 10 to 15 seeds, maybe. So I actually hit that with the Hawaiian and have viable seed that you can see. So that's kind of cool. And then of course, so I hit the Bubba to remake that, and then like hit Urkel and Crippy, and also Trinity, which is, you know, related to Golden Goat partially.
Nice. Dude, two things real quick. Caribou, one, we need a dab prog for small tubes. Brother needs a dab, man. Hit that dude up. Two, love the Golden Goat. Want to hear some more about this. And gonna have to talk to you about that one too, because that is fantastic medicine. I love that shit. And that's another one. That's just, it's awesome, man. That stuff is I can't say enough good about the Golden Goat. So having you work something, definitely gonna have to get a hold of you to try some of that, because that I would love to get a hold of that.
For sure. I grow a lot of that older stuff too for my wife, because she doesn't like a lot of the stuff that has like heavy myrcene, the OGs and stuff like that. So she likes a lot of that older style stuff. That's a little more, you know, it's not knock your socks off or anything like that. Won't put you down.
I have a question actually. With the Golden Goat, when it is young, is it more like, okay, so I have a friend of mine who's growing, and he's growing one of the Golden Goats, and it is a little bit smaller and crispier than his other plants that are coming along quite at the same rate. She's feeding the same, she's getting watered the same. Is there anything different about Golden Goat that?
Not that I know from in my regimen. I mean, I have a pretty good dry back every day. My soil gets pretty dry. I can lift a 3-gallon pot with a plant in it with one hand. But other than that, like she's an old plant. So I mean, like when I clone her and stuff, she's not like, she'll always root pretty readily, but she's kind of slow out the gate after that. But other than that, I mean, she's not a pain in the butt to run or anything.
You know, all my Golden Goats I've ever run seem like they hated water, though. Every time I gave them a drink, they wanted to fucking curl up on me and be an asshole. But, you know, a day afterwards, they were happy, praying, you know. But, yeah, every time I water them, they'd like the fucking leaf tip curl. And I guess if you saw that, you know, you might be a little wary about it. But that's the only problem I ever noticed with it. Is that something you've noticed with yours ever?
Maybe a little bit. I have a lot of stuff that's like that, to be honest. So, you know, like some of Mean Gene's lime stuff, the lime pure, it doesn't like being watered that much. You know, it hates water. Kind of joke. Like if you think it needs water, come back tomorrow.
Come back next week. Yeah. It might then.
So yeah, I water everything kind of light to keep them hungry and kind of keep that dry back happening pretty hard.
Yeah, sometimes that's a real benefit, especially when you're just talking keeping mothers and stuff like that. You know, help keep things a lot more manageable and the cost down a lot more on it, you know, keeping them just a bit dry that way.
Yeah, and then you don't, you know, the more things that you have to do different for different plants just makes it all more hassle, adds more time.
Yeah. We had a question right here. It says you got a cut from Topanga.
The Topanga Pure Kush.
Yeah. Someone said they'd like to hear about that. What can you tell me about your Topanga?
Oh, it's pure Kush. It's just got that creamy, gassy kind of, there's a little lime on the exhale. It's powerful smoke. I don't know. It's just kind of a classic. If you've ever, I don't know. I mean, it's not a real complex one, but it's really good smoke. You know, it's always going to be around. A lot of people will put it in their top fives. But it's not one of my first ones that I grabbed, but like I said, it's a good creamy pure Kush. It's not, like I said, it's not a overly complex one.
Yeah. Yeah, so your terps can be a little to be desired if you're one of those like I like the terps people, you know, and
Yeah.
and
If you're into
I
fruity,
can totally see that.
yeah, if you're into fruity and stuff like that, it's not. You smoke. I like to smoke it because you want to get fucked up. And growing her, she's got a lot of stretch to her, a lot more stretch than some of the stuff that I like to run. So
Typical OG.
yeah, just gets that length to her.
Yeah.
So do you do outdoors, indoors? What's your preference? What's your favorite? What do you?
I like both. Where I'm at now, I have to do indoor. But given the option, I would do both all the time. I prefer to do, if I had to pick, I'd prefer outdoor over anything, working in greenhouses, stuff like that.
Yeah, I wish greenhouse. I'm open, just in the ground, open outdoors, and I get some really nice plants, but I get some really nice fuckery too that comes along with it, with the weather.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's agriculture, so you're always going to have stuff going on and losses.
It's a game, man. It's awesome at the same time as it is frustrating because, it is Mother Nature, and it's kind of like how well you can defend your garden from it, or how well you can just manage it, or what I mean. How well you can just take it on the fucking chin too, right? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm down here in the subtropics, and man, the worst thing for me is the damn butterflies. They murder me. Just
worms,
caterpillars everywhere.
Caterpillars, yeah.
And I mean, BT's an easy fix, but
yeah, I got that.
You like seeing them too, so it's kind of a tough call.
Right, yeah, or you could put like birds in there, but then you're gonna be washing shit off your plants all the time.
Right.
I deal with all of it. It was really nice one year. Now you mentioned birds. I did have a plant that I had I put them outside from being inside after a while. There had a lot of bark to them, like the stalks were really, really woody. And I, hollowed them out and shaved their legs, we'll say, like really, really aggressively kind of. So the one had a canopy that went really far up into the tree. And I actually had some birds kind of hang out there all summer. And I let them stay there because they never went above the canopy. They were always up underneath it. So their shit wasn't a big deal. But I was like, you know what? I bet you that plant has a lot less bugs on it.
I bet.
You know what I mean? These two birds were always in there. So I was like, let's let them chill. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I was looking at some of your pictures and posts here that there's some pretty good stuff in there. So you guys should go check this guy out on Instagram if you haven't already.
Appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, we had a lot of cool old posts, but Instagram comes through and they put that shadow ban and going through and deleting everything with hashtags and stuff because it's a constant hassle.
Those are some big sunflowers. Holy moly!
Yeah, my wife grew those. They were monstrous.
Yeah, we were late getting ours out this year. We had one and it snapped pretty early in the season, so I just gave it the boot.
Yeah, they can take a lot of abuse. I mean, a lot of those that we grew were like laying over maybe this far off the ground for a couple of weeks before we finally harvested them.
Have you ever grown the variety that has like multiple heads? They come off.
Yeah, some of those mammoths actually have multiple heads.
Cool. Okay.
Pretty cool. I don't know much about it, but I guess there's like two different kinds of seed lines that produce those mammoths, and one of them's like a Russian one of them's not. One of them produces the multiple heads, and then we have a lot of different kinds of sunflowers that my wife grows that have like multiple heads.
Yeah, we were investigating for like kind of like fencing almost. You know what I mean? Just a natural
Mhm.
privacy. But a lot of the ones that grow thick enough don't grow tall enough. You know what I mean? The ones that support a lot of heads, they won't go up past 6 or so feet.
Yeah.
That defeats that purpose. I kind of like it's intimidating when you see a bunch of 7, 8, 9 foot tall sunflowers. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, and then they suckers need some support because man, they get top heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come out in the morning, just
Yeah. The heads always fall over, but man, if you don't have like a block of them or have them staked up or something, they just eventually they'll all lay over with the
yeah.
wind.
So do you play around with many other species of plants or cannabis? You're one.
I grow a lot of super hot peppers, a lot. It's a pretty decent little lucrative side gig, but that's one of the things. Unfortunately, getting hurt 2 years in a row, I wasn't able to do any outdoor farming. Um, but yeah, so I grow a lot of super hot peppers and to
Breed
grow.
those as well, or
Yeah. And I got my little kids eating like habaneros and stuff.
Well, what are you doing with them? Shit, the market for peppers that, I used to fucking try that shit around. I love breeding wise, I played with peppers way before I played with fucking cannabis.
Mhm.
So, when all those, like the reefers and all that fun shit, came out and they were fucking $300 a pack to buy, I had friends and stuff. We were all breeding them and getting them together. But man, we never could get rid of them. Nobody wanted that shit.
There's groups on like Facebook and stuff like that, and people online that there's a ton of craft hobby, hot sauce makers, and they can't get a hold of wholesale peppers. There's only a few places in the country that grow wholesale peppers, and they can't get them usually. So if you got them and you can find those guys and they find you, they'll buy them up. It's just a matter of working.
No shit. Yeah, well, I hear you there. I kind of dealt with the same thing. Blew out back, neck. I'm all fuckered up. And
Yeah.
so, trying to run your outdoor gardens, it's a motherfucker, right? And I mean, when shit just trying to get out there and weed around the plants to make sure, you can't even do that. It's fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So
I broke my elbow, and then the very next year, right as I was doing better and rehabbing good, I tore my rotator cuff.
oh, man.
It put me down.
Yeah, it's easy to fucking do. I think Kingfisher here had something to fucking give away, yeah?
Yeah, I've got a couple of Ozark Nations packs here, and I figure we'll do a couple giveaways here. We'll
That's
start.
the word right there, Ozark, folks. Type that in, and I'll get you entered in for the draw here.
We'll start off with the Blueberry Flame.
So while we're waiting for entries and shit to come in, can you tell us a little bit about the Blueberry Flame?
Yeah, it's gonna have a pretty good, like medium to moderate, medium high stretch. The Gack Melon male and the whole line had a lot of good stretch to it. Not like crazy sativa, but very like it had a lot of stretch. But it was a nice strong plant still, so it's nothing to like freak out like you have some floppy OGs gonna need stakes and trellising and netting and all that nonsense. But the blueberry had a lot of terpenes, a lot of that kind of rich, deep blueberry, berry kind of smooth, creamy. And so the cross comes out with a lot of that blueberry kind of berry funk in there, but it's a lot of like the body odor funk from the Gack melon comes through. Not too much of the watermelon from the Gack melon.
I have one of those going right now. One of them that I was excited about enough to pop about as soon as I got them.
How is it for growth wise? Are you looking at like a 60, 65, 70? Is she a lanky? What are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean they can get a little lengthy once you stretch it. Once you flip them and let them stretch out, they'll probably double, if not maybe triple. But otherwise, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, kind of just depends on your preference where you like to take things. I take everything to 70 usually, just to my first run with things, just to kind of get a baseline for them.
Mm-hmm.
find most things, even when the package says it's 8 weeks, it's closer to 10 anyways. Once again, like you said, it's personal preference. Where do you exactly want it? But it's most seem to be closer to that.
Yeah. I always kind of looked at sometimes when people put those earlier finishing times too, it's always, something from the early 2000s. They were always pushing it, get these quicker runs in. So everyone's trying to get that faster finish. But I don't know if you guys ever saw Stony Girls Gardens. They were back in the day. They were claiming like some 40-day strains and stuff like that.
Well, that's like that blueberry muffin they talk about is what they talk about. 47, I feel like, is that, or 52 or somewhere in that range, and that seems really short.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where it's like if you tried it and it was good, I'd really like to see a test of it and see like why it's good when it's that fast. If there's something kind of weird about it that when it's being that fast and it's still good. But
yeah, is that because I don't know. Does it have any legs at that point? I feel like as they get more of that amber into them, I feel like they start to gain a little more of that power.
Well, and some things have windows too. There'll be an early window and later windows, and sometimes, like with a lot of like the sativa lines and hybrids now, you'll see the trichomes can go cloudy and then they'll go clear again. So people might think it's ready because it's getting cloudy, and then really it'll go clear again and go another couple of weeks and then it'll go cloudy again.
Yeah, I've had some long running hazes that do weird shit like that, where I'm like, that was weird. Like, why does it look like you're done in day 60? Like, you're like you're barely halfway there. Like, what? Like, why do you look like you're done? You let it sit for a while and you're like, oh, you ain't done. Yeah, what the fuck? Like, I think this last run was the first time I've ever seen that one, and it confused the ever living shit out of me for a minute.
Yeah, it just takes them a minute to shift gears sometimes. The chocolate tile will do that, where you'll think it, but you're like, there's no way it's done. And then sure as shit, the trichomes clear out. And sometimes it'll do that 2 or 3 times.
We've got a question here in chat wondering if you have a website or anything where people can go check out what you got for sale and on the go.
I don't. It's all pretty much everything I do is on Instagram. It's all just me. Got a one-man show and slowly going up.
Hey, fair enough. You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, real quick, while they're listening and shit, then how do they get a hold of you and get a hold of some of your stuff?
I'm online, and I'm, like I said, I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty reachable. I engage. If people comment, I comment back. If they want to reach out in DMs, I don't space people off. I communicate. So that's about it. I have a email that I put out on my Instagram.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, and your Instagram is the same as your handle that's on your frame right there right now?
Correct.
Just at Ozark_Nation?
Correct.
Perfect. Excellent. So hit this dude up. Hit them DMs. You know what I'm saying?
Mike E.
You mentioned earlier that given a preference, you'd be an outdoor grower. Do you do breeding outdoors? Do you got anything kind of projects out there on the go coming down before too long that you're willing to talk about?
I've done a little bit early on outdoors back when I was like doing guerrilla stuff and messing around with like the chocolate tie, but out down here, not too much. It's just, it's not really worth the risk. But I do prefer growing outdoors, even with the guerrilla growing. It's a fun experience.
So have you found breeding wise while you're playing around that your practices have changed breeding for indoors to outdoors, or is everything pretty much kind of stayed the same? And
I pretty much keep things the same. I don't do a lot of environmental controls and stuff. I have some fans that keep air circulating and stuff like that, and an air conditioner that helps me struggle to fight the heat. But aside from that, I don't run a dehumidifier. I'm down here on an island. If shit isn't going to hang. It's not going to hang indoors or outdoors here. And they don't get babied indoors. So they get a pretty tough environment sometimes. So I haven't found anything that has changed. I don't know if it's because of doing that, because some people say they can tell a difference between seed that's made indoors and seed that's made outdoors. I don't know. I've seen a lot of terrible seed, whether it's from big name people or small people. So it's, I think sometimes people just want to look at one aspect, and there's a lot of different things that went into that seed that could affect whether or not it was just indoor or outdoor made. But
I found a couple outdoors that they're bigger and tougher, just like you would think. I guess maybe due to environmental stresses, because they're getting the wind and the fluctuation and everything in temperatures and whatever, right? Whatever, or maybe even just bringing it past maturity a little bit. Sometimes I guess doing some seed runs outdoors, you can't really see the seed too well, to see if it's mature enough, or you want to let the flower mature a bit, and then you end up with these gigantic marble tough seeds, and it's like you got to sandpaper them and shit to get
right. And the sun's, you'd like to think the sun's going to do more work than your light can do, anyways. So, I mean, as far as I would think most outdoor seeds probably going to have a longer shelf life, be longer, better viable for a longer period of time. But
yeah, that sounds fair. I would think that they might have a potential to have a harder shell on them.
Yeah. I mean, I've had indoor seed that I've made that's, not been kept in any kind of special condition, and it's germinating after 8 years, no issues. So I'm not complaining. A lot of, you can't sell a vegetable seed after the year it was made to sell. They have to have new stock every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, do you think that's going to be the same kind of thing as going to? I mean, obviously we all use whole ass seed, vegetable seed stock, shit like that. But do you think that's going to be a thing in the cannabis industry also, where they're going to put a number on that and say that seed, there you go, that's good for this amount of time, and
I mean, I would think if something got to that point, that's way down the road of federal legalization at that point.
Right. Yeah. We're not looking at next year or anything.
Right. I mean, that's big ag tech right there. So.
Right.
Cool. Let's see what are our numbers at on this drawing.
Let's see. We are at 222.
How many people are there? 50 people in chat. You only got 22 entries. Type that shit in, people. Get in there. Get in on this.
Get it.
Are we allowed to enter?
I mean, it'll rock your socks.
Go
like
for
that
it.
shit that
Hey,
pushes
I'll
your
send
forehead
something
out.
up to you.
Plus, gonna drill sergeant, y'all.
When the panel
Get your
wins,
ass in
people
there.
start saying we're rigged, right? This is completely random, folks.
Unless G-Bay wins, then it was.
Yeah, unless I win, then it's fucking.
Fuck it. I'm putting my name in on this shit too. Fuck it.
It's like Kiner.
I'll bump those numbers up.
All right, let's.
I'll distribute them to the Canadians.
All right, let's hit the button. Purple thumb.
Hey, cheers, Purple
Congrats,
Thumb.
brother.
Oh yeah. dude.
Congrats, my man.
Congratulations.
Oh yeah.
We will have another one coming up. Is that correct?
Yep. The next one was gonna be Pi-Ho OG.
All right, let's do that one at what? Say like 5 or 10 after 9. Let's put a time frame on this shit. Let's do this all.
If I get my shit together, we can get the fucking Ozark typed in there, and people can start fucking collecting their. Oh, it's right there. We got 11 entries in there already. So get in there, people. You're not gonna want to miss out on this one at all. It's gonna be some.
There you go.
Getting dank.
Type your Ozark in again. We're gonna have another fucking giveaway. And congrats, Purple Thumb.
This time G-Bay is going to win because we clearly did not rig the last one properly.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on, man. I want to win this shit too. This is bullshit.
Well, who's rigging it then? I was trying to go for G-Bay, and now someone's going to try and rig it for Fluff. How many packs do we have now?
Well, see, I have enough seeds. I don't need any, but man, when good seeds come along,
Right?
Yeah, dude. So what are you working on that's like your newest stuff that you're getting ready to kind of get working on?
I'm getting into the I-95 cross to the Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant. Got a whole bunch of those. I popped over 40 of those to run through. And then going to work some hybrids with those pretty quickly and get into those. I tend to get through some plants, some numbers pretty quickly, run small plants, little 1 gallon pots, just kind of see what they got. And then also doing a 86 Hindu across the I-95, doing a bunch of running about the same number of those, and then a bunch of outcrosses to basically a bunch of the best Hindu plants I could get a hold of, that I keep. So like Bubba.
Man, you keep throwing out all these old words like old strains. I'm just like, I get like my mind just explodes with happiness hearing the stuff I haven't heard in so long. It just gets me excited. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to.
Man, it really does kind of make me think of some old fucking incensey weed, man. That's the shit that like it reminded me of like kind of that old sandalwoody, that hell yeah. Like him talking about it's getting me excited when I hear it. I'm like, man, all right.
Yeah. That 86 Hindu, it's a really nice plant. It's even if you run it kind of midzy, it kind of comes out a little sweet, like kind of a muted berry. Almost has that kind of like powdered Afghan flavor to it, but it'll still hit you really hard in the head. But man, when you run her perfect dialed in, she has that burnt rubber, and it's killer.
Just that acrid ass burnt rubber, offensive to the nose. And, right. That's actually funny. I'd like through a cure, like if you hit it just right, it almost does give you like a grape berry thing. Real deep down, if it doesn't hold that super acrid, to your nose. Which I thought was kind of neat because mine, we did have one in that super acrid burnt rubber, like it fell out of it and it just smelled like Hubba Bubba fucking grape bubblegum after that. I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, but I wanted the skunky burnt rubber, I wanted that chemically. Hell yeah.
So you said that you've got once again a whole bunch of mothers lined up and a bunch of old cuts kicking around. What's the oldest thing you have in your stable? Like, or actually, kind of two questions. What's the oldest cut that you have that's been around the longest, and how long? And then also, what's the longest one that you've personally have held on to for the longest?
I mean, if the 79 is really the blueberry is really from 1979, then that's probably the oldest one that I have that I know of. But as far as the longest that I've held would probably be the Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant. I've had that one probably for about 6 years. Lost it in a move, and luckily had give it to a buddy and was able to get it back. So I was pretty thankful for that one. But I've been through some pretty woe-filled times and lost everything a couple times. So they come, they go.
Hell yeah.
It's like thinking like 79 blueberry there. Like, damn, I was born in 81 and I'll be 42 in December. Yeah, it's kind of puts shit in perspective a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 38.
See, exactly, right? No, this is cool stuff. I like talking all cool stuff. You mentioned that you don't really you not really buy seeds from or searching for other people's stuff so much anymore, but is there a cut out there that you kind of do want to get your hands on, like maybe like a fabled cut that you've heard of, or something that you've tried in the past that you're like, you know what, I want to try and get my hands on that so I can get it back?
I definitely would have to grow it out and smoke it. But if I could get the old, like early 2000s, whatever, 90s, Sagar Martha's Bubbleberry, man, that old cut that went around back in the early 2000s, just, man, that shit hit so hard. It was so good. I mean, between that and like Headband and a few others, that stuff just, it moved and it was good stuff. But I don't think it's around anymore. You know, a lot of his stock changed. A lot of those guys use different parents and continue the lines and stuff. And I haven't seen any Bubbleberry. It's to the point where I'd almost take on the task of remaking it.
That'd be interesting. I had a buddy of mine a few years ago. He was going to try and get me to recreate a strain. I think it was called Banana Clip. But anyways, it was something that he tried back in high school or whatever, and just kind of had that fond memory. And then he figured out the parentage of it, and he was going to try and get me, you know, something to try and get that back to him. It was kind of, I don't know, it was an interesting thought. It never panned out, but it would have been kind of cool to try out.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on my phone and head outside so I can smoke a joint and still talk to all you guys. I will be right back. Fluff, if you don't mind letting me in once I try and come back in here.
Oh, God, you're going to make me do button things? All right. I guess.
Yeah, you know how it is.
So you got any new projects that are getting ready to drop you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just kind of soft released the Cowboy shit project. It's the Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant crossed to root beer. The root beer that we selected was really, we ran over 60 of the root beer plants of the back cross twos. And we selected some really Hindu leaning ones that had they weren't super heavy on the root beer terpenes. They were more of a berry, kind of a funky berry heavy, but they would leave you feeling like you're almost drunk. Like they would really, really hit you in the head. But so we ran those and then did some pretty cool hybrids with some pretty heavy moms. The Topanga Pure Kush is one of those, just to kind of keep it all heavy. Kind of kept the whole Cowboy thing with it, just heavy smoke that you know, if you were out working, stuff that's what I grew up smoking when you're out doing concrete and stuff like that and out hunting. So we hit like JJ's Underdog, which is Kim 91 across the Massachusetts Super Skunk, Northern Lights.
I tell you, yeah, you know, honestly, I wish I could even have a name to some of the shit I used to get. You know, for a lot of the times it was like, right, we used to get the old Christmas bud, you know, and that's all we knew we got. We got old skunky shit that smelled like skunk, and you're like, God damn it, you know, it was hard to hide, hard to, you know, get away with smoking everywhere. And then, man, we used to get some stuff just called like New York White. That was about it. You know, that's all we ever, that was it. You know, otherwise it was, you know, if we got lucky, we had, you know, the homie with the fucking homegrown hydro or some shit, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was just
rare.
When I grew up, it was just kind bud and then there was no mids really or anything. It was really as a kid, you don't get exposed to kind bud too much out there in those kind of places. You're just getting swag, you know, brickweed and stuff like that. And then
Kind bud was almost always what would be beasters. We would have called beasters kind bud at one point.
I was just happy when it wasn't flat. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, we get those old pounds from down in Texas, and man, you find fingernails, washers, kind of tubes.
Dude,
All sorts
Whoppers,
of treasures in those pounds.
all kinds of treasures. That ain't no shit. I get so mad. I have fucking big ass bolts or nuts and shit in them. So I'm just like, come on, man. You ain't got to fucking do me that dirty.
Peanuts, all sorts of things.
Like they didn't clean out the fucking garbage disposal before they pressed it, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'd never seen anything besides swag until I finally saw a nug, and that's when I was like, shit, I can grow this. If this is what it looks like, I can grow plants. And then it just kind of took off from there. And then I was lucky enough to start growing at an early enough age that I kind of didn't even know there was a mids market until one day just messing around and people were talking about mids, and I was like, what the hell is mids?
Right. I was like, wait, I can get something better than swag that's not kind bud?
Yeah. But
tell me about
you didn't even need it. But some of the best weed that I ever bought back then was seeded, like some seeded mids sort of. It was pretty dang. It was probably like a bad Kim run gone bad.
I got some mids one time sold to me that when I opened up the bag and got it out and ground it up, it smelled like bubble gum. And I went back to the guy. I was like, can I get more of that? He's like, nope, it's all gone. I was like, well,
yeah.
Damn.
That's that.
Once a year.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, it was kind of crazy. Like, I got most of my weed back in the day from my dad's sock drawer, so I couldn't really go back for seconds either. I was nipping from dad's sack.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the 90s weed hit different, man, for sure.
It was all illegal. It's that rush.
That illegal weed, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever try to grow back in the day as a kid with like tinfoil and a lamp?
My first couple plants I grew a blueberry kush plant outdoors that I harvested way too early. And then I grew them in my chameleon plant cages, actually. So they kind of worked out pretty decently for a little bit, but then, I got in trouble a lot. So
yeah, my parents knew what was up. I thought I was smarter than what I was, but I was really just real stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They caught me every time.
I just had a thought. Like, I don't think we've ever talked about like everyone's like first grow. Did everybody actually cut it down early, like you kind of suggesting with the one there, or did we actually let it go through? I don't have a recollection of mine personally, but I do know I had like the trichome scope, about 3 or 4 different ones, so you could get in there and see what amber, clear, and all that were and stuff like that. Is anybody getting real eager in the early days and never make it to the 10 week or whatever?
Yeah,
I never harvested a full-grown plant for years. Just constantly prematurely cutting it down. Sucked. Didn't know what I was doing.
I think I let my first one go to the end of 8 weeks. Then I was like, oh, people talk about this 8 weeks is that was the thing back in the early 2000. People all like we were talking about. Yeah, you get 8 weeks and you cut them down so you can get another one going in there another 8 weeks. And so I hit that end of 8 weeks and was like, all right, time to cut it down. So like the day before week 9.
Bro, the first one I did, as soon as I saw fucking the hairs go from white to not white, pulled that bitch. And well, that was because it got pollinated by the male right next to it. So it was like basically just starting to pre-flower, it got pollinated and got all shrivelly, and I was like, shit, it's done. That's what all the homies said. Fuck it, I cut her down. Did that probably, and so like for probably maybe the first 3 years that I did it, it was as soon as pistol started changing, fucking thing got yanked.
My first outdoor I took down in like early August. It was just terrible. Like I said, I'd never seen it really, so didn't have online internet access back then or anything like that. And then
Same.
quickly
It was-
realized that I screwed up really bad.
And when you had those fire lowers that you didn't realize were fucking boof ass fucking lowers, you know, and you grew a whole plant that looked like that, those tops came in, and you were already there, you were done. You're like, shit, look what I did. Fuck, this shit don't take long at all.
See a trichome, we're done.
So what happened to me, I didn't understand that I didn't have any clue. Like when I first started growing, we're going way back, like you said, no internet access. I'm running into cornfields and stuff like this. I didn't know where the THC was.
Right.
Like I didn't fully understand. I was a kid. I had no clue. I just thought the plant had it in it. I didn't know the
thought it was in
oil
the
was in
hairs.
the trichome head or none of that shit. So it was like I would just harvest anytime, in August or so when there was an opportunity for me to go get it without being seen. Or like if I had a ride or whatever the deal was. It was never like, and then when I finally started, reading about it and fully understanding the plant, it was like, I've wasted so much time and energy just fucking around. And it's a lot better now, but yeah, the learning ages, yay.
I remember one time, probably like 16 years old, me and my buddy Justin, we raided this guy's grow up. And we were there the first time we did it. It was successful. Some of the best weed I've probably smoked still to this day. And then we kept trying to go back and hit it again. And where I think, if I recall, we were trying to hit it at about that 8-week mark. And we went back multiple times with different groups of people and were never successful. And me and that same guy, we went back at one point and we get in there. And from my recollections, about 25 years later, what I know as a grower, they're maybe week 5, 4 or 5, somewhere around there in the bloom. And we go in there and just hack the shit out of this guy's plants, trying to stuff as many branches and stuff as we can into our backpacks or whatever we had using. And then I think now going in there, as a grower now, I think I would have been more fucking pissed off that they didn't at least wait till they were done. They just go in and not know enough. They just mutilated these plants without realizing. But
that's it's like fuck.
Yeah, hey, everybody in chat, real quick, type in Ozark. We're gonna be doing that fucking draw here in 3 minutes? Say 3 minutes we're doing it. So type in Ozark. Wait, where's that? Right here? Right here. Boom.
Think about how long it takes for me to walk upstairs. Holy shit, you got that one too?
Well, I just put it on the screen. I don't know. I can't hit the draw on it. No. So, hit Ozark. Hit Ozark. Get your name in here. Let's get some beans. What are these next ones, sir, that you are giving away?
The Pie Ho OG, which is the headband crossed to the Cherry Pie Kush.
All right. Hey, can you tell us some about it?
Yeah, the headband, it's Natso's headband. It's kind of it smokes more like a sour kind of, but it's got more of an OG kind of growth to it. It's kind of I call it like a quicker sour. It still goes long, like 77 days or so, but I'll take a sour diesel more towards 84. So 70, 77 is quicker for me. But and then the Cherry Pie Kush was given to me by a buddy to run, and they're just killer. It's he goes by C Mendo on Instagram, SEE_Mendo. But it's the original Cherry Pie Kush lines that was made that like Gage Green runs clones of it and stuff like that. And it's killer. He kept it going out there and then passed me F3s and I took him to F4s and did some pretty cool hybrids with them. But it's some potent smoke and real tasty. I think those suffered from me taking down a lot of posts, but I'll go find some pictures and put them back up. But those males were just epic, like 3 foot tall colas of just flowers with resin production on them and stuff. They were some nice males. So you can definitely expect some heavy yields, chunky flowers. It's going to be potent, probably going to wash really good, whether it's might be dry sift, better for that, but Just depends on what the trichome glands feel like, but there will be a lot of them.
I think at the whole washes thing, you just had a whole bunch of hash makers. You're just kind of, what's up?
That's kind of what I like to kind of focus on with that. You know, like I said, I work with that Grass Valley Nepalese hash plant, and she smokes really good because I like flower. I smoke the blunts and stuff like that, but I also do like to smoke some hash. I kind of like to joke around. I like to have my cake and eat it too. So that's kind of what we're kind of trying to work on, is working with that to make some viable flower that you can smoke and still run it as an extract also. And, you know, you don't have to pick, do I want to grow for flower? Do I want to grow for some extracts, or, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any that push real heavy on the extract side of things, or do you
Yeah,
do
I
this-
mean,
do you press at all? Do you have a press at home, or?
I don't have a press yet. I have some buddies that do it and stuff like that, but
Not good,
I just
You have
wash.
access to one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wash and wash and wash, and that's it.
Okay, bubble hash.
Yeah, used to do it all by hand, and then we just started trying it with the 5-gallon washer machines, and it's pretty
Very
slow.
handy.
Yeah, it's a little cleaner.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Not
Now
as-
I was having a little trouble getting my bubble hash to like. Yeah, this is for you and anybody in chat too, because it's kind of a general question. Getting bubble hash to set up like traditional hash, is that a thing that is that just like something I'm chasing that I'll never get? Or can people
when
get
you're
the
trying
bubble
it?
hash set up like sticky dark hash? Mine was always weird and crumbly.
I mean, it kind of depends on the what kind of trichome glands you're dealing with.
That's probably it right there.
I would think some of that also comes with the compression of like traditional hash, where they compress it and fold it up and compress it again, fold it and keep doing
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
You're working it and heating it up, in their hands, and while they're working that, and then there's, I guess in some ways you're kind of you could do that with your press if you wanted to heat it up, compress it a little bit, not hard, and let it sit in there for a little bit, and then take it out. And
I did that with I had a little mason jar full of a bunch of different runs, little pieces here and there, and I eventually did it, but they were like 6 months to a year old probably at that time, so I just kind of melted them together. But yeah, no, I think what it is mainly like what Ozark said, is the texture of the trichome. I think what I'm doing is like a farmer's blend with all my gear, and it's got oilies and greasies and stickies and sandies and all the whole everything, right? I think it's the sandy ones, right? Like the sandy kind of gritty ones you want.
Yeah, I really like the sandy ones for like dry sift, and then you get more into like the tacky, but still has some grit to it.
Yeah, I've had some plants like I had this little breeding project I had, which is gone now. It's thrown into the wayside. But the G-berry, its trichomes were so greasy you couldn't collect them for shit on nothing. Like you could run, hydrocarbon like a butane or something over it and get it that way. But for bubble and stuff, no, didn't do shit. And it was like, if you weren't doing it in freezing temperatures, you weren't collecting nothing.
Yeah,
It was all you touch the plant too, and your hand would shine.
Yeah, that's how the cherry limeade is. I mean, I used to use it sometimes to clean resin off my fingers because it was so greasy and so volatile that it would just clean it right off.
Yeah, probably the same thing. Yeah. Do you try to breed towards a certain one, or is trichome texture not really in the recipe?
I mean, I definitely chase that kind of drier, sandier, or at least have some of that grit to it and still have that volatile head that it has some tact to it, but it's not overly greasy or anything like that.
Yeah, when I first was playing with that one plant I had that was super greasy, I thought it was cool. I was like, look at this, you can't like touch your hand, it's all like shiny, and you can't roll in a roll. It was actually putting wet spots on rolling papers. Like not wet spots, but like an oil soaked spot kind of. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Dude's been
Hey,
winning
right on, Gay.
lately.
Congratulations, Jay Patrick.
Congrats.
Yeah. Plant went to the wayside because it grew like a grim spoon. It was all weird and splotchy and just calyx stacked on top of each other, and yeah, it was weird. And then I let one go to the very, very end, and like it threw a banana out of every fucking flower. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah. See ya. The joys of basement fallen trucking.
Hey, congrats, Jay Patrick.
Yeah, y'all can hit me up on Discord and let me know where you want me to send them to, and we'll get them out.
There you
Thanks
go.
for doing that too, Kingfisher. That's really cool of you, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm passing the added bonus when he was doing some 2-for-1s, and I jumped on those sales. So I'm just gonna pass some of those on and let some other people check out some of your gear. I've got a bunch of it, so I want to
appreciate you.
move it on.
Yeah. Hey, Kingfisher, what is your Instagram handle or Discord, or how do you want them to get a hold of you?
On Discord would be easier, I would think.
Okay. So it's Jay Patrick
on there.
Okay. Perfect. There we go.
Looking at Agnes Beckett's saying looking at some Deadhead OG by Ortega Deadhead, sandiest plant they've seen. It's interesting to me. Catching up in chat and thinking out loud. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes it'll happen.
We've all done it.
Well, and we'll continue to do it more. I mean, God just giving you fire. So beyond the weed and the peppers, do you grow much anything else, or is that kind of, do we got you nailed down now?
No, I grow it all, lettuce, tomatoes, radishes, carrots, all that good stuff. I used to do construction, and then when we were in Kansas City, I kind of like soft retired from that, and then started managing an urban farm where we worked with autistic children. So it was pretty cool. And so I like to grow everything, man. We grow a lot of like strawberries here, raspberries, lemons, limes. We have some mango trees.
That's awesome.
Some pineapple plants.
All this amazing stuff that's allergic to Canada.
You're speaking Fluff's language. No, you got a pineapple on the go, Fluff.
No, I can never get those goddamn things to root, and I'm not patient enough to grow it out for 2 years. Fuck them.
Yeah, it's a long game.
Yeah, it is the long game. For one fruit, that's rough.
Yeah. I know. My daughter's trying to get me to grow enough that she can have a pineapple every day. I'm like, do you know how many pineapples I got to take?
Right. Yeah. You got to have like an acre just for pineapples.
Right. And then the next year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, would I be down for that? Absolutely. Do I want that much work? Hell no.
Keep them a special treat.
Oh, yeah. I want to find something that tastes like a fucking pineapple, but it's like this big and grows a whole lot on a bush.
There's like some mangoes that taste like pineapples.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can move them around, keep them in some big pots.
Yeah, everything.
I was just gonna say, this is where one of the things that living in Canada actually does suck, because you guys, just the warmer climates down there, like the mangoes, that's one of my favorite things. Yeah. And I've tried maybe half a dozen variety of mangoes that you can get up here. They're just like one of those fun things. And then I hear But we had another guy, Rods, that used to hang out with us all the time. That was in Florida, and he was like, bananas was his thing. He seemed to have like about 1 million different kinds of bananas growing down there. It's like,
Yeah.
good luck with that up here.
Right.
Yeah,
I eat some bananas, but I don't feed them, so they don't grow very well.
When we were looking at all your Instagram stuff, the missus got all on me about the mangoes. I'm like,
Like,
what,
where is he?
what do we got? A winter
Can I grow a
mango? We
mango?
can't be doing that. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, where do we get the winter mango?
Right?
I mean, they have some stuff that stays pretty compact that you can move around if you have like a garage that you can bring it inside and overwinter it or something. But there's definitely people in Canada growing mangoes.
oh yeah, no, we're not growing mangoes.
It's work.
Stuff, and I will figure out a way.
No,
Yeah.
You
Mangoes and
can
goats.
have your goats pull them into the garage.
I don't have goats, nor
Bring
will I
the
have
goats,
any.
and
in
I'm-
Well, you're gonna need goats to pull the mango tree around the yard.
Yeah.
See?
I mean,
yeah, I guess.
I
But
got a cherry tree.
for instance, I
There
let
you
my
go.
strawberries damn near die the other day. I have some
Yeah.
growing inside here. I did just dried out. I totally gapped. I got up late for work and rushed out, and then I talked to her, and she's like, "Yeah."
See, now if you had some goats helping you out in the garden, that never would have happened. Now would it?
Never
How
would.
would outside goats help me water my indoor strawberries?
We don't know, but don't worry about fucking the facts. All right.
Oh, okay, I'm mute.
Speaking of goats, it makes me think of something here. Probably the most important thing you're going to get asked in your entire life, really. If you could be any animal, which animal would you pick to be?
Oh man, that's a tough one. But I honestly have little kids, so we do it a lot. But probably I'd have to sell either on a killer whale or a grizzly bear.
Damn. Yeah, I like that. I like that. What's the reasons for the killer whale?
You got a lot of space, man. You got the whole ocean. Nothing's gonna mess with you. You just both of them are just apex predators. Nothing's gonna, they just got space to just roam and chill out and do whatever they want.
Just fuck shit up.
Or fuck shit up, ram boats and
Fuck
tear up
those
ecosystems. Apparently,
Well, you see those videos of them, the way they'll kind of pack hunt the seals. The seal will be up on the ice, and they'll come and they'll slowly break up that ice till they fall off. And
yeah,
the seal is done.
It's nuts. You watch them take out like whales and blue whale calves and shit, and
Eating sharks, livers.
we had a couple years ago. There's a big great white that comes down around here. They track her every year, but she ate a big old dolphin, just snapped it in half, bit in half, long ways, and the top half just washed up on shore. It was crazy. See something bit like that.
It's freaky. Or like the ramming boats thing I just got mentioned there. I was reading about that. Was it the Mediterranean, I think, where there's been like 3 boats that have been sunk by orcas that have been ramming boats. Stuff that's freaking crazy.
I think near the Gibraltar Straits.
Yeah, they said something about like they hit one of the whales or something, and then the whales have been like retaliating since then or something. That's what I thought I read, but
They play with the rudders of the boat, and then if they might rip the rudder off. Well, now you can't steer your boat, and you're just got a big hole in the bottom of your boat where the rudder goes in. You're going down pretty quick at that point, I would think.
not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a scary thought. It was kind of when I was at work today. We were had some of those Highland cattle in this yard that we were cutting trees in, and those are just cool looking, right? Like on the road before we got in the yard, they had some baby cows that were all shaggy and stuff, and they just look so cute. Oh, they're adorable. And then we're looking at the more closer to full size ones, and I go up to try and see if I get close enough to pat one of them. And you see the one, just the way it, gives that neck swing. It's got the horn that's like 2.5 feet sticking outside of its head, kind of thing. And I kind of was like, like wow, like I had that thought, like if that would have just and it would have been nothing from the cow. Right? It was just it wasn't an aggressive move, just kind of moving its head. And it's like, but yeah, that would have actually thrown me and probably like broke ribs and stuff. Like that. So anything that's small compared to a killer whale or something. That's a lot of energy. Like,
ode to bees right there.
oh, dab frog as well.
So you had mentioned a little bit about like making bubble and things like that, but are you much of a concentrate person? Or are you pretty much a flower guy?
I mean, my preferred mode is to smoke like a joint or a blunt. So I mean, I like to put like concentrates inside the blunt with the flower and stuff like that. But I do prefer flower. I prefer, I think it has the overall high effect from smoking flower. I think is to me is more preferable than extracts on its own. If you combine them, then I'm one happy puppy. But
yeah, that's just turbocharging it a little
Hash
bit.
snakes.
Yeah, and I like smoking hash like on its own. I had some old hash pipes, but I haven't been big on the dabs and stuff. Like it's just not something that I was have a lot of experience with. I actually caught my case for growing and stuff and went away before dabs really hit the scene. And before then we were just hot knifing and
right,
ruining our parents' silverware and
right,
figuring out the weirdest ways to smoke hash that we could. And then I came home and heard about dabs. And then I tried it. I'm like, well, first of all, this is just hash. So I was expecting something to be way bigger, but it was still really cool. And then seeing the rigs though to smoke out of, that was really cool. That's what blew me away was the rigs to smoke. But I never had a dab rig until just recently. My buddy Enzo he goes by 420 Nomad. He has Luma, their company out in California. He does extracts. He wins a bunch of awards and stuff for his extracts. Definitely go follow that dude. But he sent me some, and man, it's some killer extracts.
Awesome. Any of your crosses that you would suggest for people that were looking to do extract production, maybe?
Any of those GAC melons, really. We have a bunch of Tiger Driver crosses. The Tiger Driver is the Nepalese hash plant crossed to lime, and they have a lot of good plants in there that hash on their own. You're going to see a lot of pro wrestling references in a lot of our strain names.
Okay,
if you pick up on that. But so all those Tiger Driver crosses really tend to hash really well, and then the Cherry AK-47 cheese stuff, that stuff will really wash really well. I say wash, but it dry sifts really, really well. I haven't washed it yet.
I feel like I might have some of that. I'm not sure. I'd have to go get in the boxes.
But yeah, it dry sifts really well. All those stuffs, and those crosses really, really put out the Cherry AK-47 cheese. It really just adds a little color, speeds up finishing time, and kind of adds more of a compact like indica build to plants like outdoors. But it'll stack and yield like crazy, and it's got those really nice dry sandy trichomes that you can just knock them all off and fill up your trim bin or whatever.
Nice.
So what's the deal with the nod to the wrestling?
Fluffy just took the words out of my mouth.
Man, I've just always loved wrestling, man. It was since being a little tiny kid, man, watching all the WWF back in the day and catching the ECW stuff when you can. We didn't have a lot of ways to watch it. You snag some of those pro wrestling magazines and stuff and try and send in for a VHS or something of some shit that's never going to be allowed on TV in the early 90s.
So what era of wrestling is like the best for you that you remember? Is it stuff that's going on now, or is it back when you were a kid?
I mean, I really liked like the early 90s and the late 90s, all the, you know, the WWF stuff. You got the, you know, Degeneration X, Stone Cold, stuff like that. But then I like the new stuff. Not so much with like the WWE stuff, but there's like, I don't know if any of you guys watch pro wrestling, but there's a platform or whatever, AEW, All Elite Wrestling. And man, they go hard. It's kind of a lot of the old guys from the WWF back in the day, like their sons and stuff like that. And guys from BCW still working with it and stuff like that and keeping it going. And it's like in their third year. They went a couple years where they had like one pay-per-view a year, and then all of a sudden they had like a couple pay-per-views, and next thing you know, they're on TV full time, and it just kind of keeps snowballing. But it's fun. It's like the old throwback hardcore stuff.
I have a hard time with wrestling for probably about the last 20 years. I blame John Cena. It was right around when he got into it that it probably isn't actually him. You know,
I think you have to go back to The Rock before you can go back to John Cena.
You very well it could be, but anyways, the whole soap opera aspect of it just got to be too much for me, kind of thing. But I got some buddies that are like they eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling, and they went to Calgary, Alberta for an AEW thing. So I'm always aware of what's going on because there's always stuff coming up on Instagram and stuff like that. It does sound worth checking it out. I've not come across it on a platform to even look at it. But another thing that I've been into is a podcast. It's called 83 Weeks. It's Eric Bischoff with another guy, Conrad something or other. And listen to those guys talk about it because it's all that like NWO versus WCW versus WWE stuff, or the NWO DX, all that shit was going on.
Those are the days.
Yeah, it's cool because they're talking about a lot of the backstories behind that stuff, and like, well, this person actually really fucking hated that person and actually beat the shit out of them backstage for whatever reason. It's kind of like, wow, really? I had no idea about that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was wild back then. Just pushing the envelope, and
I didn't follow it, but I look back now and I was like, man, I missed the golden era of a sport like that. I didn't even see happening, really. Because now, like you say, it's different. Back in the day, like I did watch it as a kid, like with Jake the Snake Roberts, stuff like that, Junkyard Dog, that stuff there, that was good, man. Like with my buddies, I wasn't really into it, but all my buddies were, so I got to play with the rings and all the big rubber, the 8 or 10 inch rubber collectible guys you smash around and all that.
I did too because my cousins had them with me every Sunday.
Oh yeah.
As we watched wrestling.
Beat each other up on the trampoline.
Oh, fuck yeah. Face across the carpet, and my aunt would come in and I, what the hell you doing? You have to train.
You want to play with the boys, do you? Remember the time you?
Yeah, I was saying that.
Remember one time roughhousing and wrestling with my sister. It was fucking end up power bombing her through her fucking bed. The bed just poof, like exploded. It was like, and she was fine, right? Like we wasn't actually trying to hurt my sister. It was just, we're fucking just it's like, but it was one of those ones where it's like, how the fuck do we explain this to mom and dad? Because it wasn't just snap it back into place. It was
gotta take that one dry.
Fittings are exploded, screws are ripped out of wood.
Walk in, admit, close your eyes.
Oh yeah.
Bro, or giant holes just in the wall from, I was just throwing them against the ropes, and fucking next thing you know, my little brother fucking put a hole in the wall. Like, what the fuck? You were supposed to bounce off, bud.
We broke each other, broken wrists, all that. Crap.
Oh God, yeah, yes. Dude, yeah, wrestling, yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, that was Sunday morning religiously. That was, I believe, I don't remember what evening it was, but right, you got the WCW usually in the evening. Oh man, and back in the day, man, it was Glow too. You got to watch the fucking gorgeous ladies of wrestling. That was a whole nother shit show of awesomeness.
Yeah, it was a little more over the top with the women back then.
Do you remember that old fucking cartoon they used to have? It was like Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant.
Yeah. And then there was like the Hulk and Sting show where they were like on the beach or whatever. It was terrible.
I think those are some of my favorites.
You know?
That show was bad.
Yeah.
So who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Oh man, all time. Ooh. That's tough.
Are we gonna have to break this into two categories too, like individual wrestler and tag team? Like, I mean,
British Bulldogs.
I mean, it's hard because some of the newer dudes are really, really exciting and fun to watch. But
Okay, well then let's break it down. Who's your favorite modern wrestler that maybe I should go and try and search out? That I, because while I don't know about modern stuff so much.
the Young
And then
Bucks.
who's that?
Young
Sorry?
Bucks.
Young Bucks. Okay.
Yeah, and they'll have podcasts and stuff. They're characters, so they're some fun individuals.
Okay.
And then old stuff.
I think
I mean, for me,
You got any? Do you got any house plants? I know Fluff's a big house plant guy.
we don't have a ton of house plants right now. Most of them are outdoors.
Yeah, we're just starting. Like I can't. Like I said, I forgot to water my strawberries and damn near killed the thing.
I have 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, indoor house plants are harder to remember to water than outdoor.
19. That's huge.
I'm rough, man.
I watered them all tonight.
I got one. It's half dead.
Yeah.
So I got a half. I got a half of a one.
There you go.
But I put all the runners. Strawberries throw those little like
Yeah.
whatever, right? So this one was outside hanging all summer, and it had just so many hanging off the side. So I put some potting soil and put little pots around the big pot and put each runner into a pot. And I think I got 3 or 4 out of the 5 or 6 that I tried to take root. So I'm going to cut them loose soon here and actually concentrate on keeping these things going and producing some fruit.
Yeah.
Or they got to go. Yeah.
For the old school wrestlers, I'd say probably Triple H and Mankind. I don't know if you know. I like Mankind
specifically, or Mick Foley in general.
All Mick Foley. I just love how he could recreate himself so many times, and it'd be so fun to watch him still.
Bro, and the amount of abuse that man, he was like, no, it's cool. Just use me as a fucking punching bag for my career. It's
slamming him through Hell in a Cell.
That guy was fucking insane.
It's a fairly recent video of him and The Undertaker watching the Hell in the Cell match together, where they do the commentary along with it. It's pretty good. It's worth checking out.
I'll definitely will. Yeah, those guys were nuts.
I don't remember the last time I watched wrestling. Long time ago. I think that was like the Randy Macho Man era.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what, I go back and I keep looking at some of like the old Dusty Rhodes shit, and I forgot just how wild that motherfucker was.
Yeah.
That dude was crazy as shit.
Even like Ric Flair and all of them dudes, man. Like, it's just crazy. And then, WWE just got real hard to watch there for a long time. After,
it did.
Like you said.
It was like that split between like WCW and WWE, and when they were like fighting, and then like half the wrestlers went to Like that whole age of wrestling was great, but then when it like died down a little bit, shit was horrible.
It's like ever since then, everybody's just trying to recreate the NWO.
Really, right? Right, yeah. You ain't gonna get that again, dude. You shot that shot, it was perfect, and you ain't getting that again.
Yeah.
Wrestling was it was one of the greatest things to do. I found with our era, especially when it came to video games, and that when they crossed over in the early 2000s, late 90s, like when the video games just got kind of good, wrestling was one of the funnest games. You run up to your buddy and just slam. It wasn't just repetitive button mashing. Yeah, man. I remember so many good ones. So many good wrestling games.
All the video games back then were better too, I feel like, but
yeah,
they also say the older you get, the worse you get. So I don't know.
Well, we laid the foundation for all what's happening now. Like for me, I started out with Ataris and Nintendo. I got one of the first Nintendos in North America, not the first in North America, but when it hit North America, I was lucky enough that my parents snagged one up. Right, so 1986 or 1987. I was duck hunting, man, and that was cool as shit. And now I'm doing like whatever, for instance, Far Cry Primal, where I'm exploring a gigantic map with crafting and bow and arrows. Shit, It's crazy.
Now my 8 and 12-year-old murder me on Halo.
Oh yeah, my kids. Fuck, man, yeah, I just don't even play with them. No, that's just mean.
Yeah,
I remember playing UFC, one of the UFC games with my son. And it was like he would just like sit there like head kick, head kick, head kick, head kick. And I couldn't get anywhere fucking near him. And it was just like I just said something to him. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, I keep whooping your ass" or whatever. He didn't say ass. He was too young for that. But actually he looked at it, I was like, "Yeah, but you keep fighting like a bitch. You won't like it." And so the next thing, he didn't head kick me once. He just like took me down, wrapped me up, and it was like done even faster than head kick, head kick, head kick. I was like,
yeah, he's like, "Do you want me to embarrass you, or do you want?"
Yeah, it's like there's nothing I can do here. Like
I can drag this out if you want, or I can just make it end for you.
Yeah, or like there's another time where it was one of the Assassin's Creed games where there's like the first level, and it took me about 2.5 hours of solid trying to get through this, and then he wasn't there for any of it. He started up his own game on the same thing, and he gets through the same thing in about like 20 minutes. And I'm just like, okay, I think I'm done with video games. I just clearly don't get it anymore.
I think that is it, though. I mean, you can't say we had better video games because the shit they got nowadays is just like you're playing a movie, right? Like, I mean, they basically have writers, and yeah. I mean, it's not basically, they do. They have writers and all that shit, right? It's fucking crazy. But we got to see it all like get invented and get improved as we went. Like, we started with nothing and got something, and that's fucking badass, right?
Yeah, everything was really innovative as it came out. Whereas like nowadays, my kids are like, "Do you think it'll have this?" I'm like, "Of course it will. Why wouldn't it have this? Someone will pay for it somewhere else otherwise."
Right? So, dude, I'm like, right. Like, I remember the day MTV aired. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's not even really a thing anymore. They don't even play fucking music anymore. I don't know why it's called MTV anymore. But, some people like, haha, I remember when MTV played music. Motherfucker, I remember when it was a countdown.
I thought MTV got shut down. I didn't even think it was a channel anymore.
Yeah, fuck, I don't know. I just assume it still is.
I keep seeing posts on Instagram and stuff talking about how maybe if they actually played music videos, they would still be around. So I just assumed that they weren't.
Instead, they wanted to let everybody know that teenage pregnancy was not a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I bought a Beavis and Butthead DVD about, I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago, somewhere around there. And I get all excited because it was supposed to be new seasons or whatever that I'd never seen. I go throw it in, and instead of music videos, they're watching like some stupid reality TV show about dumb drunk bitches in their 20s. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
because that's what's on MTV
that's
now.
not White Zombie, you know,
Right.
like,
No, that's what's on MTV though. So that's what they're watching on MTV.
but that's but you see, that's why there apparently is no MTV.
Bro, but does anybody remember like the fucking cartoons back in the day that they used to play like at like 1 a.m. and shit, right? You like what was it called? Like Eon Flux or Ion Flux?
Yeah, the Tick.
I believe the Tick was fucking great. I believe Ren and Stimpy was like fucking MTV for a while, right?
Okay, up
Ren
here in
and Stimpy
Canada,
was
we get
wild.
sheltered. We all know that. We had a program called Much Music. Now, it was like our own Canadian MTV kind of thing.
We had MTV too.
Do Americans know at all what the fuck I'm talking about?
Well, it sucks just as bad as MTV.
Okay, so at least Cariboo over in BC, you knew about
Remember
it, man?
Ed the Sock?
Well,
That was bad.
yeah.
Ed the Sock was killer, man.
I just got confirmation. Not only is it still around, the MTV Music Awards are about ready to come up soon. So, yeah, shit is still around and fucking rolling.
It's
The real world ruined it all. Isn't that the fucking truth, Colton? The real world always ruins it all.
Yeah. So Noof just mentioned Speaker's Corner brought us Bare Naked Ladies. So Speaker's Corner was cool. It was like a photo booth, but with a recording option, and you left videos, and they might play it on the show or whatever. Right? Yeah, they had Metal Hour. There's a lot of good stuff because there's much music and much more music. Yeah, they had Metal Hour and shit. Yeah, it was pretty good. Oh, the memories.
It launched in 1984.
Near Sam the Record Man. I'm like 2 hours north of Toronto, so like I can kind of like.
Hey, you ain't got to be looking up fucking dates and shit, all right? You know, some like that's just fucking rude.
Dude, I was just gonna read something.
Let's hear
I
it.
was gonna read something. Now I know everything about MTV and its history. And do you know how many channels are now currently available?
Of MTV?
Yes, there's more than one. There's a lot of MTV channels.
There's still a Much TV channel, but it's different.
Yeah, it's just like it's corny.
Holy shit! Did you just say Much TV? Stop that! Is that what they call it now?
Oh,
Get
so
the
it's
fuck
not.
out of here.
Oh, is that what I'm thinking? Maybe it's Much Music is no longer a thing.
Yeah,
And-
so it was Much Music up until like 2013, and then it changed.
Yeah, oh fuck! I
My
thought
fast
it was that
skimming
far out of the
guy.
loop. Damn, I had
I'm
no
so
idea.
fucking old. This is stupid.
It is.
So
I didn't know that. I just like ADHD rabbit hole there and just kind of skimmed the page really fast. And
and I'll tell you what though, that was probably my jam. Fucking Jack Beanstalk right there, man. I could go home, smoke a few joints, fucking jam out to the newest fucking metal on the scene, and be like, yeah, fucking love that.
Every once in a while, too, the best part, they had much more music, which was like their overflow channel, kind of. They were just a lot more music videos, and there was a lot less programming. And every once in a while, like you come home all wasted or whatever, 2 a.m, and like fucking boom, Iron Maiden concert. Fuck yeah. Every once in a while, you'd see a concert. That's what I really like live too. So
My big thing was if we didn't go to church on Sundays, I could sleep in and kind of catch the hard drive with Lou Brutus on the radio, and that's where they would play all the heavy metal back in the day. Like I remember where I was when they announced White Zombie broke up. I was like, what the fuck? And but yeah, they used to play all the heavy metal and stuff back in the day.
Dude,
Back
that
before they
White
started.
Zombie breaking up still fucking kills me to this.
Yeah, because he
That's
still only plays White Zombie music.
Man, I'm like they should have carried on without him. I think he could have found a fire replacement for Rob Zombie. I think when you look at what he's done since and just how good that band actually was on, say, like Les Sexoristo, man, just like
Yeah, that was the best album, one of the best albums ever. You could put that on and play it from start to finish over and over. I burned that CD out 3 times.
Right, 100%. I don't know, but did he not just make that whole band though? I mean, that fucking the music, everything was him, wasn't it?
I mean, he puts on a hell of a show too, but
Yeah, he does.
all he does is, I mean, I don't really care for any of his newer stuff. And when he was always live, he'd always
All
play
of the new
like
stuff's
White
just
Zombie
trying to
stuff.
be his old shit, right?
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like to me. He's just trying to recreate his old shit, and not doing a good job of it.
Well, you know, it's one of those. He probably would have been better off just leaving the band together, but that's what egos will do, right?
yeah.
It's but yeah, man, for those couple, but at the same time though, they broke up and they were fucking awesome because even Astro Creep was such a different album and with all the fucking electronics they brought to it, but it was still an amazing fucking album. And they broke up at the top of the game, really, right? Like they didn't have that same Metallica-esque where they just, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, they just kind of like, you didn't see it coming. It wasn't like a meltdown or like a bunch of crazy stuff. It was just out of nowhere, you know. Plus, there wasn't internet. There wasn't constant information in your face.
They didn't put out about like a million fucking bad albums, so as the conditions deteriorated. So in a way, that's kind of better because I could think of how many bands that I still love and listen to that are still together to this day. That, let's face it, most bands don't have the talent in them to put together 20, 30 years of just solid bangers. You're going to have your ups and your downs. And let's face it, generally towards the end of your career, they're going down. So, not too many
creative, little artistic creativity in there.
Yeah.
Some stuff from their solo project makes it in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, man, I was such a big Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine fan that when I found out Chris Cornell was going to be the lead singer for Audioslave, I was like, this is going to be awesome. And then they put out that first song, and it was it went hard. And then everything after that was like kind of, I mean, that they played on the radio was kind of whiny and stuff. And I was like, man, this is not what I was wanting out of Chris Cornell's, you know,
I'm with you.
Soundgarden pipes.
I get it. I totally get it. Like I dig the slow stuff that he does because he's got the voice that can carry it to me. But I don't want to hear Rage Against the Machine doing slow stuff, right? I want to hear that band doing fucking let's get moving, kind of shake your ass music we're used to them hearing, with Chris Cornell fucking just howling over that. That's man, fuck it.
And there was some more stuff that after I started finally looking into them a little bit, actually more recently, I kind of liked some of the stuff that they had that was never played on the radio. But back then,
I find a lot of the best stuff never did from a lot of those bands never did make it really to the radio. Well, you start hearing it nowadays that it's like, you're like, well, you think about it also like Guns N' Roses back when I was like early 90s in my area, you sure as hell would never hear a band like Guns N' Roses on the radio. And now it seems like you can't turn the radio on without hearing them, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining. It just seems like more like you hear like bands like Alice in Chains, which is, on the radio and stuff like that, like Man in the Box, stuff like that. It's like, wow, you never would have heard that around the time it came out, at least in my small communities that I live in. Probably different in bigger cities where you got a million radio channels.
It was pretty like my mom didn't like me listening to that radio station. And then there was another radio station that they had back then, like in the 80s, early 90s, that back before the censorship got really crazy, used to play like all sorts of hard stuff and like Marilyn Manson, Pantera, Slayer, Tool on the radio. And then it's like everything just changed and it went away like overnight.
Yeah, it's I hate censorship. I remember when we got satellite out at my parents' place, they had like those cable radio channels or whatever, where you'd have like just a heavy metal or classic rock, easy listening, and all that stuff. No ads or anything like that, just songs getting played up. And I was like, man, that as a young kid that was like just getting into heavy metal music, you know, I knew a little Pantera, a little Metallica, and some Body Count. That was kind of about it. And you're like, oh, I like this heavy. I like this aggression. My friends don't have any heavy music that I don't know of to search out and broaden my horizons. I want to find more bands, but when you start listening to a channel like that all day long, we've probably got that when I was about 16, 17-ish, somewhere there. All of a sudden it's like, wow. All of a sudden you find bands like Sick of It All. They're a huge one. I found that way that I just absolutely love to this day.
Yeah, and then like sometimes like just go to like kind of like skateboard things and stuff is how I found a lot of bands back in the day. Some of that old thrash metal stuff like that. I got real big into like Anthrax.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever Stormtroopers of Death.
Yes. Yes.
Lots of that.
Yeah, you're in the right crowd here.
Yeah. They just took my daughter to her first heavy metal concert earlier this year, and it was Anthrax with Black Label Society and Exodus.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a good show. She had fun with that one. That's our thing as a family that we like to do, is get out and hit as many shows as possible.
I like all sorts of music too, so I'll go see a lot of shows. I haven't seen shows though in quite a while, to be honest, but like to go see Slightly Stupid. They're always fun in concert. They're pretty cool.
I would love to get to check them out. They seem like they would be a fucking real good show to see.
Yeah, they'll switch instruments and shit in the middle of songs and stuff. Like just take off their guitars and switch them, and it's a pretty fun show.
Totally get down with something like that.
Yeah.
We're starting to get close to the end of the night here. You want to just let everyone know where they might be able to find you and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, right now the only place to find me is at Ozark_Nation on Instagram. Like I said, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I'll engage pretty quickly back if you DM me or comment on a post or something. You know, I don't just let it go unseen and unresponsive.
Dude, I love the fact that you're willing to engage with people. It's as I reach out to people quite frequently looking for guests, trying to get them on here and bullshit with us. And most people are usually good. They're more than willing to come and hang out with us. But then you get those ones where it's like, so sometimes they just won't look at it, I'm sure, because they don't notice the notification or they don't care enough to look, whatever their reasoning is. Or then you'll get the other ones where you can clearly see that they've looked at it, but they're not even going to give you the time of day. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, that's weird.
So I really appreciate that you're willing to. And well, if you're trying to market a product, well, yeah, let's talk about it, right? And answer questions, stuff like that. So
I appreciate it.
Cool.
I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh yeah.
Got anything else you'd like to say? Kind of parting thoughts, sort of thing.
Not really. I mean, like I said, I just really appreciate you guys having me on. It was a really good time. This is my first time ever being on a podcast or anything like this, so it's pretty cool, pretty fun.
It is a lot of fun, man. We'll definitely bring you back for a part 2 if you're game for that.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome, man.
We're gonna do some dabs. Now you got an idea of what's going on and how we do it. Like so we try to keep it pretty lax around here. I keep saying it over and over. I don't when I go and get just straight Q&As, I feel like I'm on the stand in a trial for lawyers just hurling questions at you, and it's just like you know, I just want to chill out and get high with my friends. So try and convey that, make your life a little bit more chiller, so to speak. Yeah, I guess with that, it's
Oh yeah, well, I mean, right, like, bro, you're a good vibe, man. I really like kind of what you stand for, what you're. I can kind of see what you're breeding for, things like that. I think you at least gain me as somebody who's gonna come and check out your work for sure out of this. So I appreciate you coming on to talk. So I've learned so much about you. You know, I was surfing your profile right before this, and I believe Tara may have said something. There wasn't a whole lot of information really about you don't put that out there. So I'm really glad you came out here to put that out for people to see that. So, man, I thank you for coming here and talking with us.
Yeah, thank you.
J5020, that's who turned me on. Dave's not here on the Chad Westport show. He mentioned Ozark to me about someone you should be looking out for that you might be missing doing good work, and they mentioned your name, and that's what made me go over there and see what you were doing, and bought my first couple packs. And I don't know, every time you seem to put up a new drop, I end up looking at it and going, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
That's awesome. I'm really appreciative, man. I have a really cool kind of different group of people that follow me too. I got to my first 1,000 followers without ever posting anything cannabis related. It was all just stuff from the urban farm and stuff like that. So I definitely when I switched gears up a little bit, it kind of definitely shocked a lot of people.
Hell yeah, if we get you back, I'd love to talk about some of that stuff too. That would be cool, because I went way back all the way in the beginning of your Instagram, and I saw a lot of that stuff from the farm. So I'd be real interested in talking with you about that next time.
Yeah, definitely. That was a awesome experience.
Sweet, yeah, but we'll have to get this in the books then.
All right.
I say the same thing as Fluff. Thanks again. Great show, great information. It looks like you do some really great work. So you'll be getting one more like from this guy.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
I'll get my hands on some Urkel too. That sounds interesting.
All right, cheers.
All right. Everyone in live chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Ozark Nation. Thank you, brother. We definitely want to get you back for a part 2. This is a lot of fun with you tonight. With that, you know how it is. We're going to bless your souls with some rock and roll. Get the hell out of here. Let's do it.
coffin and I dug myself a hole. The pain I had buried me. The youth that want me turned me cold. I need asylum in prison for counting and burying.
All right, let's do one last rip for the road, guys. That one was for me, but it was for you, to you, the boofers. Cheers, though. Ba-dabba-dabba-dabba. That's all, folks.